Welcome to another episode of Talking Expat Taxes. If this is your first time here, my name's Alex McGowan, and I'm the owner of McGowan Tax LLC, where we help individuals and small businesses with international tax issues. Today, I'm very fortunate to have on Cathy and Nadia, who are going to help me understand some of the rules and navigating. Really, for the most part, we're going to focus on rental properties in Costa Rica, specifically purchasing and owning property in Costa Rica. But their company does a lot more than just that. I guess that's a good place to start, Cathy. I'll let you kind of take it from here and tell us a little bit about your company, how you got there, what your background is, and what you do to help people.
Thank you, Alex, and welcome. Nini. Thank you so much for having us today. We're very excited all the way from Costa Rica to Alabama. So we send a warm hello to everybody who's watching. And thank you, Alex, again for giving us the opportunity and trust in our services. So Done Deal was born almost a year ago. We're going to be our first official birthday. It's coming on October 3rd. And what backs up our experience is my 20 years of as a former banker in Costa Rica. So I like to offer my services as a banking products specialist, financial planning advisor, decision making support analysis. Sometimes, most of the times, when foreigners are investing in Costa Rica, they need a little guide to be encouraged to do the right investment and to have everything compliance and be empowered. So from my end, that's my expertise. And I can tell you that the inspiration and the purpose of Done Deal is that throughout my career in banking, Alex, I have learned the importance of providing personalized service with empathy and professionalism as we are passionate to be able to personalize the service and provide education with a deeply respect to people's time and money. And here we have Nidia Rodriguez, who is also a partner in collaboration of Done Deal, recently incorporated like around 6 months ago. Nidia brings to the table more than 30 years in experience of tax and accounting as a tax and accounting specialist. She also does consolidate reporting, and she used to be a financial accounting management from different international companies in Costa Rica. So, Nidia, it's been like amazing to have you in the team so far with Done Deal Costa Rica, and we're very happy to learn more about what comes to specific real estate taxing in Costa Rica. Nidia, we are all yours, all yours. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, so I mean, Done Deal, I guess more generally, you can help people from start to finish, right? Like if I'm in the US and I'm looking to buy a property in Costa Rica, like if I don't even know what I want to do, I just know I want to invest somewhere in Costa Rica because I think it's a good market. You can help me find the right place that fits I guess my style, my what I'm looking for, and then through the whole process from finding the place to doing the taxes to helping set up management companies and things like that for reporting purposes, right? It's kind of you can do everything or a little bit of it, right?
Exactly, Alex. Basically, you illustrated pretty well. We like to call it, we're developing a family office concept in Costa Rica. If you look at the family office concept abroad, it's more like managing wealth from people,
Right.
clients. But in Costa Rica, since the industry related to foreigners is specifically real estate and hospitality, what we do is we triangle the goals of our clients for the investment in Costa Rica, and we provide with our expertise, the guide and the service with the consulting basically on financial advice, accounting, decision making, and all the tax as well. And then we work together with many recognized legal firms in Costa Rica. So that's basically what we're putting together here. And then ongoing, we also do all the basic and more formal bookkeeping, accounting, and reporting. If our clients, most of them have like a holding abroad, like a holding company, from which they, and this will be a bridge between your work and our work, because we can also support them how to bring this equity back once they get on rolling with the pool of rentals as they want the investment to be settled in Costa Rica. So
Right.
basically, we want to be this end-to-end process and as well support them with all the market study involved in all the relocation, if it's the case, as a growing community in Costa Rica.
Yeah, and that's why I'm fortunate to have been put in touch with you because I work with a lot of realtors and attorneys in Costa Rica for Americans investing or living down in Costa Rica. But that's the biggest problem I see with people is just I mean, and this isn't specific to Costa Rica. It's if you're investing in real estate or doing something in a country that's not yours or somewhere you don't live, you need trusted people that can walk you through the process. Otherwise, things can get bad very quickly if you make wrong decisions. And I've heard a lot of horror stories with people that kind of go about it on their own. Be some, an American from Minnesota that decides they're just going to purchase a property in Costa Rica and figure it out on their own.
Yeah.
Some of them do, and some of them don't. So anyway, so yeah, it's a great service you're providing, and I would definitely recommend it. And hopefully, we'll be able to pick your brain on more of the specific areas of the service you're providing in the future. But I think today what we're going to focus on is the tax side, which is what Nadia specializes in. And Cathy, I appreciate giving the background, but maybe Nadia, you could start just giving us a little bit more background into, I guess, your experience with tax and accounting in Costa Rica in general, and what you're doing now. Like, what is the typical client you're servicing? And then we can jump into it from there.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. My experience is more than 25 years, but I've worked in multinational companies and more focused on local compliance, and not only for Costa Rica, but local compliance for all countries in Latin America, even in the Caribbean. So I know it's kind of boring, because you have to be compliant. But I remember in one of the companies that I worked that it said, "Do you think that compliance is expensive? Try not to be compliant." So we use that for customers. It's kind of boring, but it is something that I like and I'm passionate about. And what is that? Because our main purpose is to cover your back to the investor, is to keep them aware of the changes, of the things that they need to do in Costa Rica. Because in our experience, we have had customers that come directly to the bank. For example, they want to open a bank account and they want to transfer $1 million or 100,000. And it is not like in the States. It's not like just like that. Of course, they're going to have a roadblock
Mm-hmm.
because Costa Rica is part of the OECD structure, so we need to be compliant with several regulations that we have for for anti-laundry laws.
Right.
So if you want to invest in Costa Rica and you want to bring money here to the country, you need to reveal where is it coming from, and for that you need someone to certify that. So this is where we come to the investor, and not the service is not only there, not only to comply to bring money here. It is a companionship to be right by your side. If you're an investor, we are right by your side. Anything you need, we fill out the forms at the bank. We provide connections because we do have the connections. We can help you out because we speak English as well. We are familiar with the local regulations and local requests from the
Yeah.
bank and from different entities.
That's a good point, though, with the signing off. So if I want to transfer $100,000 into a Costa
Mhm.
Rican bank from the U.S., I've had several clients of mine that come to me and say, I don't know who it is, whether it's their banker or their accountant, and they say, "Hey, I need you to sign a letter." They need me, a U.S. CPA, to sign a letter certifying that they have a certain amount of money in the U.S. to back this. Are those two things related? I've never really understood. Like, I know what I'm signing. Like, I'm signing off, like, to say I confirm this person makes this amount of money or whatever it is. But I don't really know what they're doing with that, to be honest. Is that the banking part you're talking about?
Yes, that's it. Because the bank doesn't know who you are.
Right.
So they need to have your background, your financial background to create a profile.
Is that something a Costa Rican accountant like you can do, or do I like? Why did they, I was curious? Why do they come to me, a U.S. CPA, for that, or like could they go to somebody like you for that as well?
I have worked with customers that brings their CPA from their local country.
Yeah.
For example, I have one from Germany and documents were in German. So I needed to translate it because that is not valid in Costa Rica as same as a lawyer. You
Right.
are you can certify in your country because you're backed up by your public accountant chambers. or something like that. In Costa Rica, I'm backed up as a CPA
The
by
license,
the
Nadia,
license.
backed up
Yes.
by the
You don't
license,
have
local
license to
license.
operate in Costa Rica. So your information is not valid for the bank, but it's valid for me because that gives
I
me
see.
more credibility on what I'm certifying.
So it's like a multi-step process. You're the one that certifies it in Costa Rica because you're licensed in Costa Rica,
Yes.
but you need me or someone in Germany or whatever the situation is to certify it in the local country so that you're comfortable certifying it in Costa Rica.
Not as
Is
that
that, am I
as
saying that right?
that works. It's I feel more comfortable, but it is not necessary to bring a CPA from the
From the
local
States?
country you're coming from. Um, you need to present documents so I can see them to see if they are valid, so I
I see.
can certify where your funds are coming from.
Yeah, that's what's confused me because it seems inconsistent. Like I have as many clients as I work with in Costa Rica, I can count on, I mean, maybe 10 people have had me sign this letter, but a lot of them have moved a lot of money into Costa Rica. So either somebody else is signing it, or maybe it's somebody like you in Costa Rica that's reviewing the US documents themselves,
Yes.
you know, and maybe, so maybe some people, some accountants or whoever want the US or other or local country accountant to certify the documents, whereas other accountants are comfortable doing it themselves. Is that a way to say it?
Um, yeah, it depends on the case.
Yeah.
Because I have had cases, Alex, where I see the 1040s. And these forms are very complete. So it consolidates all your income. So it's very easy to read through it. I mean, they are large documents, so you need to understand them. And of course, you need to have the language to
Right.
understand. I'm speaking for the CPAs in Costa Rica and to understand where the businesses are coming from. And this is a good start point to see where your funds are coming from. So
Right.
basically, what this is need this certification to create a profile that Alex McGowan is an entrepreneur and he does $1 million a year. So he could
Well,
be
that's great.
transferring money to Costa Rica. I mean, it is not every time that you are transferring funds. It is to
Right.
create your profile so the bank will know that you will be
Know
transferring.
who you are.
Yes,
Yeah.
if you're a developer or depending on your economical activity.
Because
Nidia,
what they call
and
that the common reporting standard, is that the standard, the OECD standard that Costa
Yes.
Rica's under? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
if you let me to bring an additional comment to this is to align with the banking structure because there
Mhm.
is in Costa Rica we're very strict regulated in terms of source of funds. And people think usually that a source of funds will be proved by your bank statement. And the
Mm.
bank statement, Alex, is only showing that you have the money, which is good, right?
Right.
Or
It
a
is.
bank
Very
statement
important.
proving like some of our clients do, the structure of their income is based on RSUs or quarterly distributions from their companies that they work for. And what they do
Right.
in the US is sometimes they get paid in one corporation and they transfer the money to personal basis. But then when the bank is trying to track the personal income or to understand more about the source of funds is uncertain because Costa Rica system is very straightforward. If you're a salary, you get paid in a savings personal account. If you have your own business, then you're the owner of the whole operation and you shall have also declared personal income basis to prove the bank personal. I'm thinking out loud in two different products already. One is mortgages that we also assess, and the
Right.
other one is a bank account. So
Right.
regarding to Nidia's point, I also wanted to bring to the topic the difference between setting up a source of funds certification, consolidated certification, to set up the transactional profile for a Costa
Mhm.
Rican bank account. They're like a little different. It's a little different, but that's all I just wanted to add to
And
this
Alex,
topic.
that is the first step for our
Right.
business.
Right. This
That's
is this,
only
this is just getting money there.
bank, okay? You haven't bought the property yet, but
Right.
that's only the very first step. And
Right.
once you are here, what we provide is that companionship to give you an advice and to support you on all the steps that you need to go through. And yes, we recognize it is not as fast as or as expedite as the United States, but if we do it one step at a time, you'll get your mortgage approved, you'll get your financing or whatever you need from us. We are the liaisons between the financial institutions and the customer.
Yeah. So, and that's really important to have that liaison. Otherwise, I mean, I've talked to many people that have done it on their own and taken a lot longer than it probably would have otherwise, or not happened at all.
Painful.
Yes, yes. But okay, so we get the money to Costa Rica and there's procedures we have to follow, right? And then let's say we get the money there and let's skip a few steps. We purchase a property and we've decided to put it in a company. So a company's been set up. And what we do, like from a US tax perspective, generally it makes sense to set up, the LLC version of the Costa Rican company, the SRL or Limitada,
Mhm, mhm.
and that way we can treat it as a flow through in the US. That way the income and expenses, if we're talking about a rental property, are gonna flow up. If it's not a rental property, then it's still treated as your personal property. So if you sell it later, you can get a better tax rate at the end of the day than you would if it was held by a foreign corporation from a US perspective. But so that's where I get with clients. A client will call me, and I had a call this morning with somebody that's there in the process of setting up a Costa Rican company to buy this property. And so I talk them through the US side and the process there, which is its own thing. But then the question always comes up, and I literally got an email right before this call, and I'll read it actually. I said, "Quick question: can you help me out with the monthly VAT tax declaration needed for Airbnb? I'm getting all sorts of advice from neighbors, but I'm not sure how to proceed." So that is just one piece of it. But I think that's a good example of what happens is I help people get set up correctly to help them in the US. I don't do Costa Rican taxes. I understand broadly, and that's what we're going to talk about. But I think it'd be helpful for someone listening to understand. I guess we'll talk about it at a high level, but if you do because typically people will set up, say, an SRL, and let's say they're going to rent it out through Airbnb or whatever. What is the setup process that they need to be aware of and the ongoing compliance process? Maybe we can talk about it from a high level at first, just to see it at a airplane level view. And then let's dig into a few pieces. We'll dig into it from there.
Each case is different depending on how many properties you have. But let's speak about a single one, okay? You buy a property and you want to know what type of taxes you need to comply with. You have the VAT and you have the income tax, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on how you want to work. You can do it by yourself, you can rent it by yourself, or you want to hire a property management company.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first question. And the other one is, are you going to rent it out for long term or short term? So
Right.
that changes the game. It
Let's
you
let's
need.
go down the short term route, because I think that's at least where a lot of my clients are landing, is in the short term rental route. Basically the standard situation is somebody lives in Minnesota and they want to spend 2 months a year in Costa Rica and rent the place out the rest of the year, which would probably mean nightly rentals is what they're looking at through this SRL.
The easiest way, this person hires a property management company. The tip that we are going to give you is the contract,
Okay.
because according to the contract is the compliance with the taxes. Okay, because your property manager can do all the filings on your behalf, can act as the person or are the company in between, withholding the taxes. We'll rent it out for short term and then we'll file the taxes, and then it will give you in the end on a monthly basis or every 2 months or quarterly as you wish. They will give you a
State.
balance account
Mm-hmm.
and you will receive only the net with the deductions of the withheld taxes and other costs.
Okay.
Okay,
So in
but
that scenario, you're saying it's not your company that's registered with Costa Rica. It's the management company, and they're doing all the filings and paying the taxes, and you're just receiving the net. Is that right? You
That
don't have
that that's a scenario that I'm giving you. There can
right,
be several scenarios, but that's the easiest one because the property manager will do everything for you.
right. Is that standard for because I guess I've seen it where some property managers do that, and other property managers only do like the Airbnb listing piece. They don't do the filings.
Okay, that's why I'm telling you that need to be addressed in the contract.
I
And
see.
there, you know that there is a new regulation with Airbnb, Booking.com, and others that the fiscal administration in Costa Rica um, has signed an agreement with Airbnb and some others that they are going to provide, starting 2025, they are going to provide all the information regarding the renters. Okay. And after 2000, late in 2026, Airbnb and Booking.com and others that are in an agreement with the fiscal administration in Costa Rica, they will withhold you the
15%.
13% VAT, and
12.75%.
a
12
portion.
point, it's a portion, okay?
Oh, right, because you get an automatic deduction off the 15.
Exactly. But that doesn't mean that you will comply with the taxes. That's a withholding part of the business. You need to do a liquidation on a yearly basis, and it depends on how is it going to be structured. That's why I'm telling you the contract. How do you define the contract with your property manager is key in this type of things. Our tip is to take care of these minor things, if we can say like that. Is
Right,
who's going to do what? Okay.
right.
So, for example, in my own experience, I have a property manager. I have a condo in the beach. I have a property manager, and his slogan is stress free. He'll do everything for me. Okay,
Hmm.
but it's in the contract.
Right.
It's
So
very
what?
nice to hear him saying that, but needs to be in the contract because
And that,
that's the support you need to present in front of the tax authority.
right. I think that's what a lot of people are looking for that invest down in Costa Rica, especially if they don't live in Costa Rica.
Exactly.
It's unlikely that they're going to want to learn Costa Rican tax law and file things themselves there. So
Correct.
I think that's what most people are looking for. But in my experience, I have a lot of clients that kind of fall into doing things on their own, like registering, needing, maybe not on their own, but needing to hire an accountant to register their company with the Hacienda in Costa Rica and then having to file the reports. So maybe could you talk through that scenario and then
Yes.
we can compare that to the better case scenario where you did your contract correctly.
Yes. Okay, Alex. Our company is based on three pillars, okay, which is the financial structure, the tax
Mhm.
and accounting, and the legal part. We have two experts here, Catherine, that it's on the financial, me on the tax and accounting, and we have a friend that she does the legal part. I don't want to do legal because I don't have that expertise. So, what is my advice for those who want to do everything themselves is uh, go to the basics. And it's better to avoid headaches. Just use the person who knows about it. Okay. So, if you have an SRL here, this is a heads up, there is a way to register at the fiscal administration, the D140. It's the first step that you are going to the fiscal administration and saying, hey, I'm going to start doing business in Costa Rica. But there is a way to set it up. This is the very first step. I'm speaking in front of the fiscal administration. You need to be very careful on the businesses that you're saying that in that form, in the D140, because that will give you the list of the taxes that you will need to to comply with. Kathy, you want to add something?
Yes, I want to complement that just because I was thinking, blending and illustrating the two examples. So we have someone who is hiring a property manager to take care of all the VAT on monthly basis. Because what Nadia mentioned, Alex, at the beginning of this podcast was we have basically two different tax obligations. One is the VAT, which now will be withheld within the Hacienda procedure for Airbnb and booking and short-term rentals. And the other one is the revenue, the annual rent,
Mhm.
the annual the
The
annual
income tax.
income tax,
The
the
income tax.
annual one. Okay.
Mhm.
So people get confused. Why two, right? Why am I having two if sometimes in the US we only have one, right? Only once a year. So the main difference is VAT applies to the final consumer. If I was going to book my vacation to go to the beach and Airbnb, I will be paying the 13%, and the tax authority in Costa Rica will held the 12.75, I think, percent out of this VAT. And so that's why our advice is if your property manager will do it for you based on contracts, he only has it doesn't he still has to do monthly VAT for
Mhm.
his business ongoing anyways.
Right.
But if he takes care of, because he has a platform with many multiple units, not only yours. So
Mhm.
if he is the one retaining this, he will file it monthly basis, while you getting the net income only have to do it once a year. But if it's the case, I think that responds to the, I'm sorry to illustrate the two
Great.
options, but I think gives the example of what maybe Alex was trying to point out. But if you do it on your own, which we also have clients who wants to do it, we can activate their tax identification with Hacienda. They will go to the platform and take care of the VAT on monthly basis, and they will actually, if they have to also do their own property manager, hiring others. It's a whole culture of charging what is right and request people the invoices that I think that before having this regulation, nobody honestly, or maybe just a few people were doing it because they were not used to ask for the invoices, because those invoices are key factor to be able to file your deductions at the end of the year and on monthly basis for the VAT.
When I'm in Costa Rica and I go to the pharmacy or wherever, they always ask me, "Do you want your factura or whatever?" I forget how they ask me.
Right. Yeah.
Right, and I'm like, oh, as a tax person, I'm like, huh, I wonder what that is. But that's what that is, right? That's my like if I went to the supermarket and bought some things for my rental property, and I got the invoice, I could apply that I purchased as an
Correct.
input to the rental property. That could then, in my monthly filing, if I'm doing it myself, would be credited against the VAT.
Correct.
If you are really meticulous about it, you could get to a point where you could try to offset your monthly VAT with your purchases.
Yes.
I guess that's the benefit of doing it yourself versus if you had a property manager, you're probably not, I guess you could still do that, but probably aren't doing
Yeah.
that because they're filing it for themselves.
If you don't want to pay to your property manager to do that, because property managers are their business are the pool of renting, not
Hmm.
taxes. So here we are. This is where we are part of the chain of the supply chain.
Right.
Okay, in this case, you have to be meticulous to do the credits to your VAT and to optimize your tax payment. So this is where we are.
How do you advise your clients in these scenarios? Like
Yeah.
if I came to you and had an SRL and I didn't want to manage my property like with the
Okay.
rental and Airbnb, I want a property manager, but I also want the best tax answer. Like what do you suggest? Do you suggest having an accountant do the tax, the property manager do the property managing? Is that the way to do it? Or
We create scenarios for each customer. It depends. Based on our experience, we have a large customer and setting up his a pool of rentals,
Mhm.
but his business is to mm, manage the pool of rentals, doing the bookings and administrating the condos or the hotel or the houses that you have. So we provide that companionship in the taxes. You want to do it with us? Great. Or we can create scenario to set it you up, and then you just keep going. So it depends on each case, Alex.
Right. So you'd say it goes back to the contract, right? It's the contract that you set up with
Yeah.
the property manager, and that's a negotiation on the front end. Whether you want to have an accountant, then you do your taxes yourself through that accountant. I wouldn't suggest anybody do the Costa Rican taxes actually themselves if they're not familiar with it.
Not even Costa Rican people.
Right? Yeah. If you're not,
Well, this is why we live for it. I mean, this is why we are accountants, because
there's no TurboTax version of Costa Rican tax filings, if you understand.
exactly that's why we have our lawyer. I don't do law. I don't prepare the large documents. I don't do that. I hire
Right.
my lawyer. This is why we are accountants and we do our business. If someone else wants to do it by themselves, great. But the expertise and the tips and the heads up and being aware of what is going on the market, what
Mhm.
can you optimize? Because it is not only that you know how to do it, how can you optimize your investment? How can
Right.
you? This is why we are a family office, because it is not only keeping you compliant in Costa Rica, but what do you want to do with your money here? You want to
Right.
buy another property? You want to buy certificates of deposit, or what do you want to do? So this is why we are here, and this is why we complement to each other in between Catherine and me. We have worked with customers that, for example, nothing about accounting, okay? But we have created cash flows for investments. So we have done benchmarks, we have done research across the markets and financial institutions or other source of data to create the cash flow and to support the numbers, because we both have as well financial education, Catherine and myself. So we know how to create a P&L
and to break
and
down Nidia, and also to break down the to complement to I'm sorry, but I'm very passionate about the topic too.
Yeah. No.
We love to break down ROIs, like sometimes the most common word is invest in Costa Rica because of the ROI. The ROI in the hotspot of Tamarindo will be X%, right? So what we do is to accompany our clients from a totally impartial point of view to support them to break down the ROI and then to cash flow and to really understand what are the effective days on the high season. Like, are we talking high season? How many months? How many days? What is the percentage of the occupancy expected in the first 3 months of the year? What can I expect in the later rainy season months of the year, depending on the area of where you're purchasing? Sometimes the entire area of the specific beach is shut down for the rainy season. It's not
Right.
going to be
Yeah.
open. Like
Just because it's a pretty house in a
some
nice
business
area, it
decide to
doesn't mean.
close.
Yeah.
And also the financing part, just a little commercial. If you're purchasing a house in Costa Rica, do operational leverage. Don't use your money, use local Costa Rican bank money. We're here to also advise you on that too. But yeah, what Nidia was approaching is the example of the service that we want also to send to all of your clients, to invite them to talk to us. We have an introductory free consulting call to understand different structures, and sometimes it takes more diving more deep into market studies to bring the right answer, but all
Yeah.
the answers are going to be backed up with a compliance law in Costa Rica. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I talk to a lot of people that get into the rental property business anywhere, but Costa Rica in particular, with a certain expectation of cash flow that wasn't realistic. Just because you're in Tamarindo and it's a nice property, there's so many factors to think about that you really need someone that understands that market to factor those things in, or it's not that simple, I guess. So yeah.
What Nidia was mentioning was so important because we have seen all kinds of structures, like people who, for example, Nidia's example is perfect example of optimization. Her property manager take cares of the VIT on monthly basis because he already does. He already has in his business to do it. He has his
Right.
accountant to do it for him. So it's just like gathering from all the listings of the short rentals to do it is nothing for him. He already does it.
Right.
But if you are going it on your own, some of the questions that we have normally is, Cathy, shall I write down a lease contract to my manager? Like, how does it work? Do I have to set up a lease contract? If you do a lease contract on or long term for this operator or property manager take ongoing of the pool of rentals, you will be automatically having monthly income based on rental income, and then you will have to file VAT. So it's like a double work, not a double tax, a double work. So
Right.
if you want to not the need to do the VAT, you can perfectly find the property manager who will also do it for you, because the whole point of this is to have a stress-free investment set up for you to be able just to receive the return and do it once a year like you guys are used to, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point, because I do have a lot of clients that are doing the VAT and income tax filings. Like they even have property managers, but they are hiring accountants separately to do the VAT and income tax filings, which may or may not be a great scenario for them. For example, I have a client that I talked to this week. She's doing that. I don't really know her exact situation with property manager or not, but she has like a multi-unit property that she's purchased. And so I think there's like 20 units here, and she's going to be renting each one out. And she asked me whether it would be beneficial to set it up as a hotel in Costa Rica or a short-term rental, through Airbnb. And she was thinking at it from the perspective of the change in the tax law, which I'll try to describe it based on my understanding. Basically, under the simplified system of filing for income tax in Costa Rica, you basically you pay tax on 85, there's a 15% income tax, and you get a 15% automatic deduction. So it's going to be whatever that comes out, 12 point something percent is the tax. Whereas you can opt to the corporate tax system, right, which has a 15% tax. I might be saying this wrong. No, it's going to be a higher tax. It's like 30%, but you can take your actual deductions. I think that there was the hotel versus Airbnb question, which I think is its own separate thing. But then the question I was curious from your perspective on first was corporate versus this simplified method. Like, to me, it's just a question of what you expect your expenses to be. Like, if your expenses are going to be high enough, you're probably better off under the corporate scenario, right, than the simplified. Did I explain those two options at all correctly?
Yes. Alex, can I give you a tip?
Yeah.
For example, if you're planning to invest in Costa Rica and you plan to bring your money here to buy property, and then you want to set it up as a hotel or short-term rental, in the end, the income tax it's in brackets, but the highest is the 30%. And the deductions are the expenses that you have to operate, okay?
Right.
However, if you want to have a mortgage here, if you want to finance your business here, the interests paid on this financing will be applied as a credit to your income. So that would be beneficial. You have to create the scenarios. As I told you, we have to see case by case, but it is beneficial because you can have a credit to your income. Okay?
And Nadia, if the multi-unit has over 10 units, it's already a hotel, and it will be
Already.
run. It has to be run like a business, because all the expenses the structure will need to hire many type of hospitality service.
I see. So once you have an employee or somebody working for the business, then you're already out of that
It's a
slack.
business. It's a hotel. If it's
see.
more than 10 units, it's automatically a hotel.
I got you.
Yeah.
So it's not even an option. Whereas if you just have a single family home you're renting out, I guess you could choose the corporate scenario, but it probably wouldn't make sense in this case. It's probably more complicated.
It depends on the location. If it's more residential or if it's more commercial. If it's residential, we also have to start thinking about luxury tax. If it's
Right.
commercial, it's different. So it all really depends, because you can have like one really beautiful home, but it's a luxury with like 10 rooms, because it's one house, but it's luxury. So it really goes case by case.
Right. I see. Okay. So yeah, I guess what would you say if somebody's coming to you and let's say I guess let's do my example where usually people are coming to me and they've already started this process, which ideally they would come to y'all before they start the process, as to help them get started. But if they came to you and they've already set up a company and purchased a property and they need to know what they need to do, I guess the answer is it's going to depend on what kind of property it is. And
Yeah.
I guess it could depend on a multitude of things, but generally their options are to go through a property manager or do it themselves through an accountant, right?
Yes, but you would have to go one by one. If you go with us, we can give you some direction
Mm-hmm.
where to go because we have all the scenarios and the structure, and we can create a tax structure even for each business, and we can support you. And if we don't have the service, we have the networking.
Right.
This is why, because we are locals. When I go to a different country, I like to, not only go to the most touristic areas, I like to go to the locals because they know where to go.
Right.
So this is the same with us. If we don't do it, we can recommend, at least we can give you recommend on where to go.
Right.
And for example, going back to your example about the hotel, there is another form or registration that you need to do as a hotel in a government institution. So this is something else. It is not a tax, but it's a registration that you need to comply with.
Right.
It depends on the case.
Right.
And Alex, keep in mind, very important as a complement to what Nadia is saying, is because my mind is already thinking about banking all the time.
Mhm.
And the way people set up business in Costa Rica, we have seen it all. The way which company was registered, the activity really means a lot, but also the registration of the property. Because if this person who owns the multi-unit for 20 units already registered as a residential, then we need to back up a little bit, step back a little bit to redo, because maybe, but if it's like the first time and they're like, the best way to do it is to get in contact with us from scratch.
Right.
For us to be able to do an analysis on the whole operation, and if there are like other companies involved belonging to the same holding, for example, we will do a chart to explain our clients and to illustrate the best tax structure to be still compliant and to be legally and optimized. But if they already come with, we had this accounting before, we have this advice before, and they already were set up in a way that need to be corrected, which normally happens, then
Yeah.
we need to step back a little bit and find our attorneys to see how we can correct contracts. Because the most painful thing, and people don't realize, is in Costa Rica, the tax authority can go back even 4 years ago to start a legal process on your company if you don't do it. Yeah, and the tax authority in Costa Rica can always go back even 4 years ago and question and want to go.
Mhm.
And the most sad part is, like, normally people don't have the control of their information. They just trusted people in the past and they don't know where the
Yeah.
persons are and who was responsible. And so that's basically part of our job, to support them and to become the main pillar of support for expats in Costa Rica.
It's not only expensive, which it is, to have to unwind things and redo things, but it's also just time consuming. And it takes forever and it takes a lot of time. So, yeah, I definitely recommend it. My takeaway from this really is that, everything, it's also interconnected. So you need it to be registered correctly legally from an accounting perspective. You need to have the right contract with your management company.
Correct.
So trying to fit those pieces together by yourself is going to be hard to do, and you're probably going to make a mistake. I definitely recommend, getting someone that can walk you through the pieces. That's why I think y'all are providing a great service, like from a family office perspective, to help people with that and get them set up on the right foot. So you don't have to worry about it the next year. You're set up and then you can go on with your life. You don't have to worry about unwinding things, because I do a lot of unwinding and it's a painful process. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, Look, I really appreciate this conversation. I think it's been very helpful, and I've learned a lot just understanding a little bit more about getting set up correctly, the tax side, the banking side. So I really appreciate it. So if people want to find you and look you up and get help in Costa Rica, what's the best way for them to reach out?
We have an Instagram page ongoing. We normally keep loading some content, and there are the straight contacts of Nidia and I. Our phone numbers or our email, it's in the Instagram web page, and we can set up a free consulting call to begin the process, and we'll be more than happy to assist you and your clients.
Okay, perfect. I appreciate it. Hopefully, we can have you back on to dig more into the banking and other sides of it because things are constantly changing and there's always new things to talk about in Costa Rican real estate world for sure. But thanks for coming on. We'll talk to y'all later.
Thank you, Alex. Have a
Thank you,
wonderful
Alex.
day.
Yeah, so I mean, Done Deal, I guess more generally, you can help people from start to finish, right? Like if I'm in the US and I'm looking to buy a property in Costa Rica, like if I don't even know what I want to do, I just know I want to invest somewhere in Costa Rica because I think it's a good market.
Exactly. Alex, basically, you illustrated pretty well. We're developing a family office concept in Costa Rica. If you look at the family office concept abroad, it's more like managing wealth from people,
Right.
clients. But in Costa Rica, since the industry related to foreigners is specifically real estate and hospitality, what we do is we triangle the goals of our clients for the investment in Costa Rica, and we provide with our expertise, the guide and the service with the consulting basically on financial advice, accounting, decision making, and all the tax as well. And then we work together with many recognized legal firms in Costa Rica. We also do all the basic and more formal bookkeeping, accounting, and reporting.